there, comic friends. I'm Travis, and it's Talking Comics. We're going to talk some comics. These are comics for the week of September 25th, 2024, I want to say. Sounds good. Last week of September, I know that for sure, if the date isn't exact. A bunch of books this week. Oh, first off, I am wearing my my Ice Cream Man t-shirt. Love my Ice Cream Man t-shirt. Anyway, let's talk comics. Tons to get to today. We're going to start right out with Detective Comics number 1089. I believe this is the final issue. Maybe there's a prologue of the Ram V run of the book. Thoroughly enjoyed this run. I think this run is so good. I think that it will be a run that years and years from now we will talk about this run of books. It hit the classic notes of Batman, while also feeling fresh isn't the word I want, but just it romanticized Batman in a perfect way. I just thoroughly enjoyed it. The backup stories have been excellent all the way along. The use of the Rogues Gallery has been excellent. The new villain has been interesting. The whole idea of battling for the soul of Gotham and then the soul of Batman are not new things to look at for the book, but addressed beautifully, addressed interestingly. How far they took some stuff was really intriguing, and I would want to say I look forward to what is next. Where are we taking Batman from this? But we'll see who with I believe it is Tom Taylor who will be taking over writing the book. I do not know who is on art. But interested to see what they do, see if they use any of this. It's to some degree it's a reset, but it's not. It's not like they wiped away everything that's happened in the past and reset the book. That certainly hasn't been the case. There's still no Alfred. There's still no mansion per se. There's still no mega rich Batman, seemingly. So I don't know if we're gonna adjust some of that so we get back to the normal playlist that used to be for Batman, or is this continue to be the Batman moving forward? But like I said, really enjoyed this run of books by Ram V and of various other artists on the book. Just been quite well. We get some Gilliam March art in this book. The Guerrero is a colorist, does a fine job. I miss the old colorist that used to always seem to be with March. But this works. There's one definite March picture in here of I think it's Talia, which infamous March art. I'll see if I can find it real quick and show it to you. I know it bothers some people. It's ridiculous. It's a ridiculous pose and scene and body, but it's comics, and to some degree, that's how I look at those parts. There it is. It's classic. I don't know. Feels a classic '90s piece of work there. Where you can get both the front and the back of the lady in the shot at the same time, but still really enjoy it. Like I said, thoroughly, dug this. I would say it would definitely be an excellent read in trades if you're not somebody who's picking up the singles. I've been so happy with Detective Comics that I'm looking forward to what's next with the new people and what they're going to say and whatnot. I'm always happy when I can collect Detective Comics. It really is my Batman book. But I have grown as a collector over the years. I am more of a reader, and I keep telling myself, even though I love a character or a book, if it gets unreadable or unenjoyable for a long enough period of time, I need to drop it until until something changes with it. And then I will pick it back up, try it, and see what's going on and whatnot. I knew with Ram V that I was going to be probably getting a book that I was going to enjoy, and I was not proven wrong, which makes me very happy. Next up, we have Standstill. This is issue 2 of 8. The book is super thick. The book is $4.99. My Detective Comics I read here was $4.99. The reason I bring up the price point is because if this book was charging for the page count that in it, I would be scrambling to drop it. And this is why. The amount of material that is in this issue is the equivalent of, I should have counted the pages, is the equivalent of probably 20-page comic, maybe, or less. There's got to be double. There's got to be double here. I'm not going to count it. I should have counted. I should have thought of that. Anyway, my issue with the comic is the art is great. So written and colored by Lou Leridge. He's an amazing, amazing colorist. I think Eisner Award-winning, Ringo Award-winning, every other award that probably a colorist could be nominated for. And if not, he should have been. Maybe he won this year, and it was like a shock to everybody that he'd won this year. He colors some amazing books. Anyway, he has written it also. This is his first writing, to the best of my knowledge. Andrew Robinson does the art on it. The art on it is great. My issue with it is, so normal comic, right? That would all be on one page. What I'm seeing there would just all be smaller, but it'd be on one page. So, ooh, yay, giant art. That's exciting. I guess. But very cinematic. I mean, look, this is letterboxed. I do find it curious. I didn't remember on the first issue, but I see down here amongst our credits, created by, and then there's this Xylon, Zylonol studio. I don't know what that is. I don't remember that in the first one. So probably a backer of some sorts. Maybe it's Luridge's thing, or maybe it's somebody else's. But every page is this massive cinematic, I want to say, I mean, it's still sequential art, don't get me wrong, but if every page, I'm not going to show the whole comic. It's good, I mean, as far as art goes, but this is normally, in a normal comic, this would be on a single page. Not every page is it's not a splash page, right? Because it can't be called a splash page if it's got, I mean, this was a splash page. This is a splash page, right? But the whole book is that way. So I'm enjoying the story as a whole. Right now, it still feels fairly simple. Our scientist has figured out that, hey, somebody has stole this apparatus that makes him stop, pause time, and do whatever. And this guy is wiping out a bunch of Middle Eastern terrorists at this point. And while he's doing that, there is a narration going on between the scientist and his girlfriend, wife, not sure exactly what she is, about the fact that this device is operational and that he can make another one if he gets the right materials. Because if you make another one, then you could stop him potentially, because if you make one, then the device doesn't affect you if you have the device also. And that's pretty much the issue, with a whole bunch of action of our I don't know, super assassin, for lack of a better description, wiping them all out. Curiously, that Porsche does not exist in this issue at all. There's a car, but it's certainly not that. I don't know. It's fine. And like I said, if the price point wasn't, I'm paying mostly for a regular comic. I'm looking at some other comics to see what the prices are, because I don't pay attention. Yeah, it's about the normal price of this. If I was paying, like I said, if I was paying you $7 for what this would be the equivalent of, or whatever is how it typically sold, I wouldn't be annoyed. I don't know who made that artistic decision, and I'm curious from their standpoint, how are they affording this? So they must be not getting paid as much per issue, I would guess, because of how much money they're spending on the product. And maybe I'm looking at the comic wrong. I'm just curious from a longtime reader. The nuts and bolts interest me as much as the stories themselves. I just like I said, showing stories as a whole. The art is good. Some of it's big, and big art in and of itself is not a necessity for me. But interesting that they chose to do it this way. And like I said, that one part is letterboxed, which is really curious too. And you got this 2 full pages you're using. Is there an emphasis to letterbox? It's not like, and I get letterbox to pull in tight. I mean, the issue prior to this, the Detective Com issue, there's this letterbox, kind of tight panel that they show over and over again. It's just Batman's eyes, and him saying "See me." That's all kinds of visual sense. This, boy, I'm going to waste 10 minutes just talking about this. But this, I don't. Let me get back to it. Why? I mean, this cutting her chin off. The where balloon breaks the letterbox a little bit. What's the emphasis there? Because prior to that, it's just panels of her in her bed, early morning, talking to our scientist guy here. So the purpose. She looks concerned. I mean, wait, what? But I mean, I don't. Pulling closer to the eyes, pull out farther. This level of shot. Why this level of shot in this giant blast page? With, like I said, it feels more letterboxed than it does. That it does one tight panel, especially when you're breaking the panel at the top and the bottom. I don't know. Maybe I'm looking too much into something that doesn't matter and whatnot. If you're reading the book, or even if you're not reading the book and you just see those pages, am I wrong? No concern, whatever. Okay, next up we have Hello Darkness. This is from Boom Studios. This is their horror anthology. I'm coming around more to it. There are definitely stories in here that I like. The first one is by Michael Conroy, and the art is by Martin Morazzo, who does Ice Cream Man. And maybe that's part of why that story was really creepy and really good, because the second I see his art, or second I see Martin's art, I'm immediately put in an Ice Cream Man mode, that I know that something eerie or sinister or twisted or what the hell. There's always some. He's a great storyteller, and it's really interesting because his line work is so incredibly thin in comparison to a lot of other artists and whatnot. And it's the opening story. It's about basically influencers and they're eating influencers. There's a whole group of what am I eating? Oh, eating hair, eating this. And trying to one up each other, kind of a deal. And it gets extreme. It gets into eating, your own hair. Then the next step is take a few fingers off to eat, and then gets really sinister after that in a few stories. But like I said, the second I see Martin's work, like I said, it's 40 some issues probably of Ice Cream Man and other things along those lines that have really set an edge. But excellent story, really good. There's quite a few. There's like 3 or 4 pieces of art in here by comic book artists that are just horror scenes, which are pretty cool. Once again, we get the little short of something's killing the children. Nothing really informative there. Just, I mean, it's kind of like an ad really for something's killing the children. But so it's fine. Like I said, there's some really cool art in there. I think this is by Jenny Friesen. Yep, Jenny Frizen. Just the skull reflected in there. Yeah, just some good stuff. So I enjoyed it. The There was a story about like World War One, pit fighting, had some interesting stuff in it that I found intriguing enough of it to go, ooh, wow, what's that about? And and of course it's done. And then of course we get the Garth Ennis story at the end, Becky Cloonan art. It is it is enjoyable. It is short because obviously it's part of an anthology. It's a different kind of darkness, I guess, and whatnot. I don't know what would possibly be next for it, but I'm sure there'll be something. But it's not been bad. I Like I said, it's growing on me more and more as I read it more and more. I think it's had some stronger stuff in it also. So excuse me for banging the table. But Hello Darkness issue 3. I want to say there's 5 or 6 issues of it. I'll keep getting it. I like anthologies. It's a mixed bag, and that's to be expected with an anthology. Next up, we have issue 11 of The Outsiders, Never the End. This issue, we definitely play the fourth wall here because it clearly the book has to do with storytelling and changing stories and endings and whatnot. I believe there is another issue. This issue does say the end of it, though, so this might be the last issue. Dives heavily into planetary and whatnot. I've enjoyed the story itself, the Lansing Kelly story. Carrie art, there are places that it isn't really great. And it tends to throw me out of a book when in a comic book they put a comic in a comic book or a cover or like an album cover or anything like that. And instead of somehow attempting to draw it, it's like they have a picture of it and they just kind of fold it and twist it and make it the size they need it to fit in the book. Always throws me off because then it's just so much different than the rest of the art that's in it. And there's definitely that in here, which kind of throws me off. But I enjoyed this story. If this is the end, this is a good ending of the whole thing. Kind of a weird, its own little exploration, telling kind of a side story, using some story history from planetary and authority and whatnot, but not really. So don't be getting this thinking you're getting some additive or whatever. It's just elements from that were used to leverage to tell this story about storytelling and about the whole idea of being able to pull yourself out of the story and change the story to something else to fit your needs, sinister or not. But I really enjoyed the ride along with this. Earlier issues stronger than later issues, but still really fun. This probably is the last issue. It feels like, just because of the way they talk about the characters and set things up towards the end of the book. And like I said, it does say the end, but this is an issue about endings. So I don't know if that really means the end or if there'll be some sort of epilogue after this. Anyway, enjoyed it for what it was. It was some good fun. Next up, we have issue number 5 of Helen and Wyndhorn. My understanding is the end of this issue comments the fact that the next issue ends the whole thing. So we'll see where that is. I enjoyed this issue quite a bit. It had some good emotional struggle in it. Some flex from some characters that haven't really done a lot of flexing up until this point. The art, of course, by Bisk Everly and Matthias Lopes continues to be just amazing stuff. Now that I know this is coming to an end, I'm already like, okay, what's the next thing? What's the next thing she's working on? Because I want to get it, whatever that is. I want to be enjoying the heck out of that. But this is a good book. Tom King written. I'm still curious about the other part of the story, the part of the story that's not within the kind of novelization, illustrated book kind of Conan fantasy world stuff. The stuff that's basically supposedly set in the here and now, the comic collection, and the recordings and all that are now, sitting in a garage sale. I'm really curious as to what that is about, or if that's something that's not continue to not play out because of the fact that the book is ending where it's ending. And I don't know if this is always the plan to end here, but yeah, well, I'm looking forward to that last issue to see where it sums it up. If nothing else, still just a joy to read because visually it is just so good, so appealing. Great stuff. Then we got Mugshots, issue number 3. This is from Mag Cave. I continue to really dig this book. It's just, it's your basic, hard-boiled gangster criminal type book with, some quasi-redeeming character who's trying to save the bits and pieces of his family that are not part of this whole lifestyle and whatnot. I love the black and white of it with the one color element throughout the book, with occasionally it changes to a different color. Normally it's this kind of blue color. I still just really enjoy it. It's a fine story for the type of story it is. The art is strong, conveys what needs to be conveyed. Love the line work and whatnot. And then, like I said, most of it's always in this blue, and then you'll occasionally get these moments where something happens. When that something happens, it'll change to a different color. Lots of times, this kind of weird ochre brown, color. But like I said, I just really, really dig it. I think there's one more issue I want to think of it. So written by Jordan Thompson, Chris Matthews does the art on it. Lucas Galeonti does the lettering on it. But yeah, it's good stuff. It's good stuff. If you like the kind of pulpy, pulp's what I want. Noir, definitely aspects to it, but kind of a modern crime. I'm the kind of, quasi good guy criminal, and, my niece gets, snatched up by one of the crime families, and two crime families are having a war between them, or a potential war between them, and you're trying to figure out where your niece is at and rescue them without the family getting completely destroyed in the process. But anyway, enjoyable stuff. As always, Kaya's amazing. Every issue is super enjoyable. We're in issue 21 now, which seems like a lot of issues for the book. I know that Wes Craig takes breaks. The breaks seem relatively short, it feels like. And then this book is back on. Every issue is action-packed. Every issue is dynamic. Every issue is brilliantly colored by Jason Owori. It's just such good action adventure, kind of a thing with sci-fi fantasy bent in there, depending on exactly what is happening, whether it's the robots or whatever. There's great emotional tug in lots of the issues. This issue continues to contemplate. They think possibly like a demigod walking around with them. And they're trying to figure that out. That guy has implied that maybe they're not the last humans in existence, and he's here to help them figure out how to make it down the road, the path they have to take to get where they need to get to hopefully fix all this stuff or come to some safety or whatever that might entail. But just really, really enjoyable, really good stuff. Always pleased to see it. Always very happy to when the book crosses my path to read it. It's just a joy to read. Oh, next up we have Zatanna issue. This is what, issue 4, Bringing Down the House. I super enjoyed this issue, which is shocking to me because it definitely deals with John Constantine and Z, the fact that they dated. I'm just not into that whole shipping of that whole thing. That's one of the things I hate most about Constantine being folded into the regular DC universe. But really enjoyed this issue. Enjoyed the how they address their past relationship and whatnot. and what it all meant and stuff, and where the story's at. This whole thing about Z and her father, and kind of find out really who is the bad guy in this and what has happened. And the art just continues to just be amazing by Javier Rodriguez. He is just so good. It's just like, I don't understand what. Here's young Z, college Z, doing card tricks and getting drunk. I don't. I mean, whatever this guy's doing, that is such a gorgeous splash page. I don't know, whatever the guy's doing, I'm buying. Even if I didn't like the story itself, I'm buying. It's just too cool. I just really like. I mean, that's just a wonderful picture of John eating a croissant. But yeah, I am thoroughly digging this issue. It has been lots of fun. Just amazing art. Great story by Mariko Tamaka. Also, so it's not just Javier Rodriguez, but really more Javier Rodriguez books. I don't care, what it is. It could be an entire issue of Plastic Man sharpening a pencil, and I'm sure it would be awesome done by Javier Rodriguez. Oh, next up we have the Manchurian. This is issue 1. It's only going to be issue 1, even though they act like at the back of it there's going to be more. But my understanding is we're only getting one issue of all of this, the Horizon Experiment. And the Horizon Experiment is basically a look at standard types of tropes or ideas that are out there, but written and told from a different perspective, a perspective of minority writers and creators, I believe, in some sense or another. So the Manchurian, written by Pichot, I do not know how you say his name. Art by the Dotsons. He is Chinese American. This is kind of a James Bond, Chinese James Bond is what it is. I'm not a big James Bond fan at all. I generally like the theme music from James Bond way more than I like the actual James Bond stuff. So I got this for the experiment aspect of it. I'm probably getting most, if not all, of the Horizon experiment stuff, just because I want to see. I want to see somebody else's voices. I am very much interested in that because it's the way I get to explore the world. I live in a place where, by and large, everything's the same. So getting something different is awesome. It was interesting. It's a good book. It's not for me because the subject matter is not for me. I'm just not terribly interested in the whole spy, by and large, the spycraft sort of a thing. It has to have some really interesting elements for me to dig that. And despite the great art by the Dotsons, James Bond-esque type things are just not my jam. Interesting, the conversation around Chinese spycraft versus Western spycraft. Some interesting stuff in there. So it's a good book. For me, it felt lengthy and wordy, solely because I'm just not interested in the subject as a general rule. So don't want to spend a lot of time on that. The Flash, issue number 13. This issue feels like it ends the story that's been told across these 13 issues. It's been great. I've really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the narrative of it. I enjoyed the individuals, what each individual character added to the story along the way. Fundamentally, I like the way it ended, the emotional beats that it used to get where it needed to get to. All really enjoyable. I'm now really curious to see where the book goes to now. Does it now become like I don't know, what do I want to call it, a normal Flash book? This was just, instead of being like, I don't know what a normal Flash book is, to be honest with you. like him just speeding around and solving the base stuff that the Flash solves and that sort of thing and fixes and saves, versus this kind of the Speed Force is messed up and time is stopping, or there's entities that are going to destroy time because they don't like change. This is all really heavy element type stuff. Are we now going to get like, I don't know, like I said, normal story? What's next? I'm excited and really interested to see what's next. I'm gonna keep picking it up as long as Cy Spear is writing it, I believe. But I really did enjoy this 13 issue trip through this to get to the end of this, and I'm really curious to see what comes next. They have a brief page in here for the absolute stuff, which zero interest in, but it didn't wreck this book, which I'm super excited about. But now I'm just really curious to see, they kind of settled this, where do they move on, from here? What's next? How do they kind of deal with the fact that their youngest child ends up is clearly this, kind of time cop sort of a person in the far future. Anyway, good stuff. Really, really enjoyed it. And I'm real curious to see what's next with it. Yes, issue 69 of Saga continues to be Saga. It's really good. It has great emotional things going on. There's clearly some other terrible stuff that's going to happen. I've reached a point where sometimes that frustrates me with the book. You want to see some joy occasionally, right? But that isn't always part of life. Totally get that. Isn't part of the saga. The brief moments of joy are very brief in comparison. Was awesome to see a character back, even for a nanosecond, even mostly naked, half covered in blood, and only being a hallucination. All great stuff. But that whole dynamic of that person popping up is wild, considering what the other half assumes. They're taking a drug to basically have a constant hallucination of someone who has died still being there. One of them believes they're both seeing the same thing. The other one, for whatever reason, is seeing something else, which would put in direct conflict with that other person, which is a really interesting aspect of this book. That part is really interesting. There's some stuff of Alana. She's like my second favorite character in the book. I love her dearly. She's got some stuff that's going to be coming that's going to be further heartbreaking potentially for her. And that's going to be a big bummer. That woman's been through a lot. But I think by and large, she's in a good place. So we'll see. Maybe she'll manage it. Okay. Enjoyed this issue of Saga quite a bit because clearly it gave me stuff to think about. And there have been some issues lately where I just like, you go through it and it's like, it's done. And it's like, oh, this is great. Amazing art. Haha. Funny gag there. But hasn't felt like it's had something for me to go, oh shit about. This issue's got stuff for me to do that with. So super enjoyed it because of that. Fourth issue of Resident Alien, Book of Life. I think the next chapter is going to be more interesting than this chapter was. With this chapter by the whole, we get a child, and some relatives are showing up. That's the end of the book, is that. So that's the aspect that's going to be interesting of it. It's been fine. It's been a fine book. I enjoy it. I don't know that I would recommend it for anybody unless you have been reading it all along. Then it'd be something to pick up if you like the slow burn and meander of family life with an alien. So, yeah. Black Cloak issue number 8 continues to be amazing. I absolutely love the Meredith McLaren art. Is just super strong as always in this. Really enjoy it. We get into some deeper into the nettles of stuff with this issue, with the asking of having our main character reinstated with the Black Cloaks. We end up being drawn back into the mermaids and the water once again, which is always interesting and fun dealing with them. That aspect of it is really going to be interesting. See where that goes. See what the implications of this whole thing are. that this ancient creature, this ancient basically dragon-like creature that was supposed to be kind of largely fiction other than they have skeletal remains of it, it's supposed to be animal, and now they're implying that it's not an animal, that it had reason, it seemed to, it had a plot, it had a plan. I don't know that I see that in it, but the characters, the detectives say that's what it is. So, okay, I'm going to go with that. I'm wondering if they're going to get proved wrong, that the animal is an animal, not a sentient, and is being controlled by somebody else. But we'll find out. We'll find out, read the story. But absolutely love the art, love the environment. It's just really, really good stuff. Oh, next up, Convert, issue number 2. Deeply, of course, love the Simon Gain cover, but really super love this book. It's just really, really interesting to me. Our last issue, our one surviving space traveler had wandered, was about on death's door, and then these fellows show up, or what seemed to show up. They force feed him in this issue until he absorbs enough of something, then it makes it to where he can function and not die off in it. The issue starts out with it being many, many, many years later, and new people, 50 years later, I want to say. Some other cosmonauts have landed in the place. They founded the graves. They found the old spaceship, and they're trying to figure out what happened. And they're wanting to know. One guy is questioning why they're there. 30 years later, so it's 30 years later, and they're questioning why they were sent. And one of the investigators has found this old journal of our main character in this, the scientist, that starts out in English, starts out writing, starts to make sense, and then it gets goes into all kinds of weird hieroglyphics and so the person is trying to figure out how to make sense of it. But the thing kind of gets really trippy as we hear the story of him. He, I don't know, he's hallucinating at one point. There's this wolf type creature, and then there's these creatures that he ends up mostly humanoid looking. The main person that they're following is somewhat humanoid but giant, and he can talk with them. The others don't talk a whole lot, but they do talk some. And they're traveling, and they get attacked. They're kind of native. They survive some of these attacks. He helps build a weapon, basically a crossbow equivalent, to help them on their attacks. It feels like that might tip the balance of stuff. Our large entity warns our main character that he needs to be clever, be smart, but be cautious and keep that to himself, because when they reach their ultimate place, there is a sacrifice. And the sacrifice is this woman that he is clearly bonding with. And so I'm really, really interested to see what it is. I really dig the art. I love the coloring of it. It just has kind of a strange, ephemeral, not quite seeing reality for what it is. Kind of a, is he tripping this whole time, or exactly what's going on? But I just really like it. It just really has kind of a strange alien feel to it. And because they're on this planet where they can't eat anything, but they figure out how to eat some of the stuff without being eaten themselves. Just really, really dig it. There's the cover for the next issue. So written by John Arcudi, which I love him. He just does amazing stuff. Really enjoy his stuff. The art is by Savannah Finley and Miguel Coe. It does the coloring, and I just really like all those aspects of the book. And of course, like I said, the Gil Kane covers. Love me some Gil Kane. So really pleased with the second issue. It's kind of just dipped into this kind of. I kind of like the idea of being that space stranded person on a planet, having to try to figure stuff out and seeing what happens, and so it hits those kinds of things for me, and I just enjoy that aspect of it. So good fun stuff. I'm really intrigued by it. Next up, speaking of fun, we have Knights. This is issue number 11. This issue has lots of little vignettes by different artists and different writers in it, of just little aspects that are going on in the area around our main characters and the stuff that they do and whatnot. There's a great one of Gray here, our vampire, non-vampire, going out and taking pictures throughout the night and then popping back home, and some of the stuff that she gets into, and just some of the stuff that Matt is up to, trying to decide, like, he's getting ready to, this is his last day here in, I think, St. Petersburg, Florida is where they're at. Here before he's supposedly going to go to Tokyo because he's like a coder that makes all kinds of cute little games, and that's obviously really popular on people's phones and whatnot. So he's going to Tokyo to do that, supposedly, which is going to kind of potentially upset the balance of things here. But we get all these little stories that are lots of fun in this. I don't know if this is created as a kind of a break for the regular creators in the book, or if it's to give the other people shots for us to see their work. Everybody's work in here, maybe not visually matches kind of what's going on, but definitely the vibe itself. Each one of these stories matches well with the whole idea and how Nights has been run up to this point. So it wasn't disruptive. It was actually really fun. Whereas, like, some, as an example, there was that John Constantine Hellblazer Dead in America issue that happened a while ago, and to me, those little shorts in there that were told felt disruptive. This doesn't feel disruptive. Everything still has the right vibe and whatnot about it. So just really digging the book. I have no idea where it's going to go. Does not matter. I'm just along for this kind of great ride. I mean, I know there's this kind of sinister arc going on. There's some sort of cult covenant kind of thing. Then there's a government entity, and they're both kind of potentially going for gray in one fashion or another. And I know that's the ultimate thing that's out there. But there's just lots of living life, and the living life part of this book is just really fun and really great, and really enjoying it. So, and finally, 16 issues in, we are at Spectregraph. This is issue number 3. Christian Ward's art continues to be just amazing. I'm really digging this book. James Tinian the Fourth, writing a great, look at that cover. See the shine? But the shine's just on that fleshy entity. Really like the way Distillery produces this stuff. I wish it wasn't square bound. I mean, this actually has stuff on the binding anyway. But like I said, no one's going to stack this on their shelf. I really would like to be able to. But this one, I don't know, it does lay pretty well. But Christian Ward's art is amazing. James Tinian's writing a great story, though, too. There's some great emotional beats and conversations in here about stuff that happened in the past. We get more of these two ladies' past to inform why they're at where they're at now. Just really good. Really feels very real. Very real conversations. Very real emotions and thoughts and feelings of where they're at in their lives, the ages that they are, the situations that they've been in the past, to put them where they're at now. All great stuff, all surrounded by these meat monster and skeletal monsters that are roaming this house that they're stuck in, that they're trying to figure out. They've discovered that there are tunnels, and a last grasp of, we got to get out of here. They run through these tunnels and then run into some potentially further problems, or maybe their savior. Anyway, thoroughly enjoying this. Really good stuff. Like I said, Distillery Comics, their digital aspect of their stuff, I find bothersome from the potential NFT-ness of that and whatnot. But comic book, they're putting out great comic books. They've got great people doing them. I'm assuming everybody's getting paid well. I assume they're not running themselves into the ground like a lot of new comic companies tend to do. By and large, these have been really good books. I mean, it is a $9 book, so it's on the spendy side. But quality stuff. Then they got some more coming out. They're going to just be stellar also. So anyway, really enjoying this. Looking forward. I think the next issue, I think 4 is the last of it. And I am looking forward to it because this issue was really good. It laid down some really serious stuff. We got the stuff that's at hand and the stuff at the past. Both parts work really well in equal parts. So Yay for that. Anyway, that's it for this week. I didn't have new comic books for this week because my comics have not shown up. My comics haven't even shipped yet. I do not know why. So hopefully I get them in time in this coming week to get them ready to do another one of these about those books on Sunday. We'll see. It's going to be a busy week for me. I'm actually traveling for a bit. Going to go see PJ Harvey. Yay. It's a bucket list artist. Excited to watch that. Anyway, have a great one, everybody, and I'll see you whenever I see you next.